Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Curious Coconut. This is our second episode, and today it's me and Tong, and we'll be discussing like our startup journey, how we met, and what our ideas were, and things along those lines.
Yep, great to have you all back on the podcast. Um, how do we even start? Let's start about uh let's start let's start by talking about our background a little bit because we've never really talked about it in the past.
Yeah, yeah,
So as Adi has mentioned, my name is Tong. I grew up in Germany. I was born and raised there till the age of 14, moved to Thailand, like did high school there. And for some reason, I went to Australia eventually, and that's where I met Adi. That's just
yeah,
like a brief overview of what I've been doing.
yeah.
Um,
And I was born in India, and then I lived there for 11 years. Then I moved to Canada. At the age of 11, lived there for like I think 7 years. And then I came to Australia in like 2019, started university, and then met Tong in 2022. Yeah,
yeah, it
2022.
was 2022. It's been a while already.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
over a year now. It's
yeah,
almost 2 years because I think we met in March. That's crazy.
we did. Yeah, wow, time flies for real.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's I'm pretty sure there'll be people listening to this thinking we're the most uh like extraordinary kids, just being able to just be in all these different places. Um, but yeah, I'm super happy how things have turned out without having without being able to travel like this. I definitely wouldn't have met all these cool people that I've met in the past, um,
Mm-hmm.
including including you yourself, Adi.
Yeah, so do you want to talk about how we met and what we were doing back then?
Yeah, actually, for sure. So the two of us, we actually went to the same university, so that'll be the University of Melbourne. So we met in Melbourne, Australia. We both computer science majors actually. We both graduated with a degree in science, Bachelor of Science, and a major in computer science. But in we didn't meet in class. We actually met in this competition called the US 22, which stands for the University of Melbourne Startup Competition in 2022, which is self-explanatory. Um,
Yep.
and and yeah, we both for the longest time, Adi and I, we had like this passion for climate. In particular, we look around and we see how um, badly our planet has turned out for the past few decades, with all these
Mm-hmm.
carbon emissions being in our atmosphere, all
Yeah.
these forest fires, being in Australia as well. I'm pretty sure you were there as well, Adi, right, Adi? When there were these bushfires, and Melbourne was like completely red this one day,
Like
like
I,
not
I,
even a
cause I
day.
came in 2019 and I was in Queensland, so I actually
Right.
didn't come to Melbourne then, but I was there in like March of 2022, and
Yeah.
then yeah, that was like after the bushfire season, thankfully.
Yeah. But it
Um,
was it was horrific because I mean, I don't know if you guys have looked at any videos or footages. But yeah, it was terrible, and Melbourne for 2 3 days was completely red. The sky was completely red, and then
mhm.
it was the air was super bad. Um, I mean, I'm here in Thailand. I'm back in Thailand, by the way, and Thailand is very bad for its pollution. We have a really big pollution problem with PM 2.5.
Mhm.
Going outside feels suffocating. Some people have problems breathing and all of that because of the smog, and it was very similar that time in Australia with the bushfires.
Yeah,
But yeah,
like I actually got really inspired to pursue sustainability and climate change while I was like growing up in Canada, because Canada is just it has so much natural beauty. Like there's mountains, there's like forests, and like in school we would often go on like hiking and camping trips. And I
Mm.
totally just fell in love with nature there. So yeah, I just enjoy really enjoy nature. And I started thinking like if this is not there like 50 years later, like I won't be able to enjoy the peace that nature
Mm.
offers. Which is why I like started focusing on climate and sustainability and trying to pursue a career in there. We started our own startup. Um, and yeah, I guess like the pitch competition, which we met through, is when we started working on our very first startup. And it was a really good experience.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to add on to what you just said, actually, with falling in love with nature, quote unquote. A lot of people will actually think that it sounds really cliche, but I've been on the exact same boat. Where in Germany back in the days, my parents would always take me hiking as well, and we do it like on a weekly basis, basically, or like a
Oh,
maybe
wow.
like monthly basis eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'd always go hiking, trekking, and I mean, the atmosphere and stuff was great. And just thinking about, if we were to have kids in the future and our kids wouldn't get to experience what we get to experience right now, and just to imagine that it might all be gone one day is just so bizarre to me.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm pretty sure it's
horrifying.
this thing. Yeah, it really is. And it's definitely not talked about enough. But yeah, we bonded through this basically, Adi and I, and it was you, Adi, that had this idea of mixing crypto and sustainability, and that's how we started actually.
Yeah,
Right?
so the idea was basically our startup was called Carbon Coin, and the idea was to create a new cryptocurrency and link it to the removal of CO2 so that every time you purchase a new token, you would essentially be removing a certain amount of CO2 from the atmosphere. And the aim was to like, because we the CO2 capturing industry is really complicated. So the process is called carbon capture, and there are many different types, many different ways that you can perform carbon capture. And what we wanted to focus on was direct air capture, which literally takes air molecules from the air and separates CO2 from the rest of the air, and then mineralizes it um, to so that it can be turned into rock and stored underground. There are like other methods as well, such as like planting trees or doing like regenerative agriculture and things along those lines that remove CO2. But we wanted to focus on direct air capture since it's the most accurate way to measure your CO2 emission reductions. Um, because currently there's like a lot of scams or like it's really hard to determine how much CO2 any particular carbon capturing project is removing. So what we wanted to do is like help scale the direct air capture industry by um, by using cryptocurrencies as a way to sort of invest into direct air capture and help make the industry more profitable.
Yeah, because the industry, when we were researching about it, it's actually not that profitable. A lot of direct air capturing, plants, they do struggle to make money, and they're often subsidized by the government. And we wanted to um, not only help them, but then also kind of just like bring bring people's attention to this whole issue as well. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was like one of the biggest factors that we wanted to push for at that time. And yeah, so we basically came up with this idea. I mean, Adi came up with this idea, and I thought it was brilliant. I just wanted to be a part of this team. And then the two of us just, bonded over that, got started with US 22. Um, we got we got taught by who was it? I think it was like Bonnie and this. I don't actually I don't know if I should mention them. I don't want to throw names around. Um, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, we had like mentors as well that were teaching us to like how to pitch, how to come up with the ideation phase, how to come up with the idea. I mean, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
in the ideation phase, and how to get funded eventually. So it was like a whole process. Adi and I, we made, I don't know how many pitch decks, but we came up with a bunch of pitch decks. Um,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
then we got it.
that was such a struggle. Like
Yeah,
making the pitch deck was such a hard part. Like every single time you were like second guessing yourself. Like if this
exactly.
should go after this, like what should you put on it? Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, like the US 22 team, they were like super supportive. Like we went through many workshops and there were different mentors. And like if you had questions, we could ask them and they like gave us like many different tips onto like we also conducted like a lot of customer surveys and that was a really nerve-wracking process. I remember like when we went up to university students on campus and we were
yeah,
just like both freaking out.
yeah,
Like we didn't know what to
yeah.
do.
I
Um,
think I think it's because, when you walk, I think that there's like election days as well at UNIMEL, right? And
yeah,
I don't know if you've gotten it, but some students, they come up to you and telling you to elect their leader or whatever, just
yeah, yeah,
and I don't know, it's just a horrible experience. And I think
yeah.
that's what kind of is engraved in every student's mind. Like, if someone's approaching you that you don't know, just walk away. And I think when I came out to do these questionnaires for our startup, I was just thinking like, oh, please don't let me be rejected. I just didn't want to be rejected.
Yeah,
Um,
what we ended up doing was like, because we were focused on sustainability, so we went to like a sustainability related event, and
yeah.
like we found people there. Like I think it was like a vegan food. They're giving free vegan sausages or something, and then I
Okay.
went there and then asked a bunch of students there, um, because
Mm,
yeah, I think what you want to do with like customer interviews is focus on your target market. So we and you had to find like where your target market would be. So we found that like sustainability events, like sustainability marches and things along those lines. And we started going to those events, and trying to focus our attention on that segment.
yeah, that's right. Um, wow. Just thinking about it, we were so lost that day. We didn't know how to find, but like, at that time we were really stressed. But now looking back, I
Yeah.
mean, we did try everything basically. We did look at climate rallies. We want to attend climate rallies just to interview people as well. We were talking to a bunch of the crypto people at our university. I mean, I remember me going to
Oh
this
yeah.
bar for this crypto event as well.
Yeah.
Just talking to a bunch of people that were interested in not just like buying crypto, but kind of creating their own crypto project as well. And I mean, it was a really bizarre experience, but it was definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. Like I think I think that's like the one of the problems that we faced. It's like we had like two really different markets, right? So one was crypto and one
Yeah.
was sustainability. And we were trying to find the intersection between those two. And how do you find like in a normal startup environment, um, like let's say you want to create an app that like helps you with your workout, right? You could just literally go up to a gym and ask people about their experience, right? But with this, with like with crypto and sustainability, how do you find an intersection of the market, or like how do you know like where to find those people? And that was one of the setbacks that we had.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about the intersection, we also, some people thought they were actually, they thought it didn't intersect at all. They said it was like two different problems, because crypto, on one hand, is, at the start, it was very energy intensive, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we got a lot of climate enthusiasts just saying like, oh yeah, crypto is definitely not the way to go because it's so energy intensive. And then us in our minds, we're like, oh damn, I mean, we had this whole plan, we're combining crypto and making it, good for the climate and whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Because yeah, a lot of the major cryptocurrencies
mm,
back then, they were like proof of work, and there was just like a lot of negative reputation about like crypto harming the environment
yeah,
and requiring a lot of energy. So it's like hard to convince climate enthusiasts as well that like crypto could be a way. And I guess one of our benefits was also that like we would be using proof of stake, but not many people really knew about proof of stake. They just saw the headlines that crypto is bad
yeah.
and didn't
And
really
that was
look too
that was
deeply
that
into it.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also vice versa, right? Just talking to the crypto people, I mean, just talking to the climate people, telling them about crypto as well was pretty hard. A lot of them didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand how crypto could be of value for them, and hence a lot of them they actually haven't invested in crypto themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then yeah, it was just like it was a whole journey. But Adi and I, we did everything we could basically, and then created the pitch deck. We finished the pitch deck, presented it, and next thing we knew, we were selected to be like one of the finalists in the competition. So we were
Mm-hmm.
super stoked, just to be in the finals, and we were super happy. We're like, yeah, we got this. I think we got a really good shot at this. And then we didn't.
Yeah.
We eventually didn't even place top three. We made it to
Yeah.
the top six or something, and we didn't place like top three, and we were
Yeah. I
like a
think
little bit
like
devastated. I think. What
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I definitely was.
Yeah. No, that was a rough day. But like, yeah, I think there's 40 teams in total. And then I think we were one
Yeah.
of the eight that got
Oh,
chosen to
eight.
pitch
Yeah.
in the finals. So that was like a big achievement on its own. But then obviously we didn't win.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think, yeah, but looking back, I definitely learned a lot. Because I did not know how to pitch in front of people, and like learning that
Mm,
experience, learning that was a great experience to learn. And I learned how to like question people, like write surveys, um, create pitch decks, and just how to like all the startup principles of like creating MVPs, and
yeah.
testing your ideas and things along those lines.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest thing that I got out of this whole you know whole, what do you call it, whole adventure. I'll just say it was a whole adventure, um was that it actually kind of taught me not to limit myself, because studying computer science, I was thinking, maybe I'll just stick to computer science and I'll stick to that field. But then, after talking to all these interesting people, talking to investors and startup founders, startup, whatever, they made me realize that just because you're doing one thing doesn't limit you to it, and you
Mm-hmm.
should definitely go out there and see what works for you, and keep pursuing what I mean, it's really really like overused now, but just do what you love, and don't limit yourself, right?
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I think that's like I think me, like I always wanted to try a startup and like I never really know how to start it. Um,
Mm.
like what are you supposed to do to start a startup? Like and just join the competition and like working with others and then like having a co-founder and like having like that mentorship, like that safe environment to test your ideas and like, not being afraid to fail. I think that was really beneficial because it showed to me that it's okay to fail and like it's it's like the hardest thing is to just start something, right? Like um I don't know if I told you this, Tom, but like before we actually met, like I was thinking about this idea for like maybe like 5 or 6 months, and just like in my head I was like really afraid to share it with people because I was like, oh, they'll steal it and blah blah blah.
Mm.
But one another thing I learned is that the idea is like it doesn't matter at all. The execution is what is important. You could have the best idea, but if you don't execute it properly, like it's useless. And from the start, I think you should really share your idea with the people around you, with your network, so that they can help you out, but they can also hold you accountable. Like if you share with others, um, it's more likely that you're going to complete it or like focus on it rather than it just being in your head. Like if it's just in your head, then you don't have to work on it and no one will notice. But if you share it with your people, with your friends, then they know. And if you're not working on it, they can hold you accountable.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, while you were talking about that, I was just thinking in my head, it's similar to like writing essays or something, right? Just getting started, just getting something down on a piece of paper, or if you're typing it, just getting the first paragraph down is always the hardest, because you always second guess yourself, like, am I doing the right thing? Like you're trying to be a perfectionist, but there's
Mm-hmm.
no such thing as perfectionism, right? You just have to go with it. Just
Yeah.
get something down first, and then as you go, you can develop it and then improve on that essay or whatever you're writing. And
I think you can
that's
apply this to
definitely
like basically like anything.
basically
Like,
anything, right? Yeah.
yeah. Because I was thinking about the podcast as well. I think I was really thinking of starting a podcast for a long time.
Mm,
And then the hardest part is to do the first interview, like to just get it out there and like make an Instagram account and share it with your friends. I think
yeah,
once the initial step is done, like you realize that not many people care what you're doing. But like since you're done it now, you feel like almost free that like you're doing what you wanted to and you're not being held back.
for
And
sure.
then yeah, it gives you a really good feeling.
It gives, yeah, it doesn't even matter, because we're at the point. I mean, obviously, I don't want to jinx it and have, two or three viewers at all times. I mean, we're not getting two or three, by the way. Just getting it out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, obviously we want our channel to grow. But yeah, you're definitely right. Like, once you first do it and first publish it, no one's gonna care. No one's, like, maybe people will care for like the first episode or something. If it's your friends, maybe they'll support you just solely because they are your friends. And
Mm-hmm.
then afterwards, they'll do their own thing. If they don't get value out of what you're producing, then they won't listen to you after, the second episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but obviously, yeah, I don't want to jinx it, just putting it out there.
yeah, that's all good. It's okay. Um, yeah, so Tong, what did we do after the pitch competition with our startup?
Yeah, after the pitch competition, okay, we were devastated for a while, because we didn't technically win. Um, but then after that, we got together. We sat down together, and we just brainstormed what is like a good next step that we should take. We were looking at startup events and startup competitions, networking events just around Melbourne.
Yeah,
And Melbourne is honestly not too bad for that. Um, I think the two of us, we have met a lot of interesting people by going
yeah,
to various networking events, as well as being a part of some startup clubs. I don't know, is that what
yeah.
you call it?
So I joined like StartMate, which was like I did like the student
Yeah,
StartMate's student fellowship. So it was like 2 or 3 week
yeah.
fellowship, and it was like it basically introduced you to like the startup landscape, and like they help you find jobs in startups as students. And if you want to found your own startup as well, like there's founder challenges, and it was like a really amazing community. So like they have networking events, they have like different fellowships for like women and like all sorts of like startup related stuff. And they're like they have like an accelerator as well. So I joined that community and it was like really great because they have amazing mentors, amazing people just running the events. Um, and I just learned so much from that.
Yep. I mean, we both also joined, what, like the Giants program,
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah, Blackbird Giants.
Blackbird's Giants startup program, and there was also this mentorship program that we kind of benefited from as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting in touch with people that were industry experts
Yeah.
was really big for us. Just getting their feedback on what we were doing and if we were heading towards the right direction was extremely important to us. And I mean, there's still a lot of things that they talked about that I still use to this day. You were a part of the climate fellowship as well, Adi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was another start made
Start made, yeah,
fellowship. And yeah, through that, like I got to learn a lot about climate change, and sustainability and like what's being done in the industry right now and how Australia, like where Australia fits into the global market and what are Australia's like strengths and weaknesses and how can we improve the like startup community and like the climate community in Melbourne. And through that, like I also met like really amazing people. And
yeah,
yeah, like next week, we will be interviewing people that I actually met through the Climate Tech Fellowship. Um, so keep
yeah.
keep an eye out for that one.
Yes, that'll be really fun.
Yeah,
Oh, but yeah, we just did this for a while, didn't we, Adi? We just went
yeah,
out there, just talked to a bunch of people, and I do admit that it was pretty daunting at first,
yeah.
because we started off doing the US 22 competition, and it was like all uni students, and then
Mm-hmm.
suddenly we get out there and we talk to, like, I mean they're not that old, but like older people who have already kind of like settled down and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it was daunting for you, but for me it was definitely daunting. Getting myself out there was like pretty hard. And then, I was kind of like freaking out already when I was like creating my elevator pitch. So an elevator pitch, for you guys
Yeah,
that don't know, is kind of like a brief summary of what you're doing. So if if you take that, if you think about it, right, it's kind of like you go into an elevator, and an elevator, you don't have that much time to talk to a person that like stands next to you. Assume that I'm in an elevator with Adi, for example, right?
yeah.
If we're going
And
to like
I'm
the
the
12th
CEO
floor,
of like a big bank,
yeah,
and Tong
yeah.
really wants to like impress me to give him a job or fund his startup. So like the elevator pitch is basically like you have to put your really amazing points and like tell someone you just met about yourself and like highlight your like most amazing achievements so they want to like
Yeah, in the shortest
connect with
amount of
you
time,
or like give you
just
work
before
or
the elevator. Yeah, yeah, basically.
yeah. But honestly, like I feel like it's a very outdated idea because I do not know when was the last time I actually talked to someone when I was in an elevator. Like it's
No,
just
no, for sure, for sure. But I think what is good about it is that it helps you kind of like bring your ideas together so that you kind
yeah,
of introduce your idea in the shortest amount of time so people
yeah,
don't get too confused. Because
yeah.
sometimes I don't know if you have talked to people that just ramble and ramble, and at at the end of their 3-minute talk you have no idea what their idea is about, or have no
Yeah,
idea what their business is about. And
yeah.
I think that's a lot worse than coming up with like a 30-second elevator pitch.
Yeah, the idea is just to like highlight some like give a good overview of who you are and what you do, and
Yeah,
make yourself stand out without like rambling on. So yeah, like yeah, there's some really good techniques, and you can even watch some YouTube videos on it. I think we did
yeah.
that as well, just to
Yeah,
like
we did.
refine it. Um, because yeah, I think like by the end of it, like I had like my spiel like set up like what I would say to what like I was just repeat that every single time. I was not even
Yeah,
like nervous anymore. Like every time I meet someone new, I was like, oh, this is my startup, this is what we do, blah blah blah. And like we
yeah.
refined that so much. But
Just
yeah.
rapid fire. Yeah. It was it was the exact same for me. It was just hard for the first time, and once you talk to enough people, you realize that first of all, not that many people care. Because I think what's daunting about it is that you you trying to perfect everything, but then not a lot of people care. They just want to, how when you go to a networking event, what I've learned is like, you think to yourself like, how can the other person benefit you, but then the other person's thinking the same.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as like the two parties get something out of each other, you know, a like a good relationship can be formed, a good connection can be formed. And I think
Yeah. And I guess like going to these networking events also like made me get over like my self-consciousness and like sort of social anxiety
for
because like every
sure,
time you go, you're always nervous, right? You
yeah,
don't know what to say, but like people are like super friendly most of the time. And like
that's true.
even though like they might not like your idea or care about it, um like it just gives you that like sort of experience to go and introduce yourself to someone new. Um and yeah, which can like even if you're not in the startup industry, this that skill can be really useful, where you
Mm.
can just meet people and like feel comfortable talking to them.
Yeah, that makes me want to bring up a point actually, where at the start of this whole journey, I thought that the startup space was really, really, really like scary.
Yeah,
Um, but in reality, everyone's just like trying to help each other. So
yeah,
if Adi and
totally.
I had like a problem and we talked to someone, they would probably refer us to someone that could help us, which is something I absolutely loved. Um, no one's out there. If you think to yourself, someone's gonna steal your idea, no one really does that. Because like if if someone's gonna steal your idea, it's either you haven't worked hard enough on it, or it's just yeah,
Yeah,
it's just not good.
and like the thing is, right, like if someone can easily steal your idea, then like the idea is probably not like worth pursuing because even if you become big, like let's say like a big giant like Amazon sees your idea and they just like replicate it. Like there's
Mm,
nothing stopping them from doing that, right? So if your idea is easily replicable, like it's probably not a good idea to begin with,
yeah,
which is something that I learned like just by like attending these networking events and workshops and things along those lines.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no one's gonna steal your idea. Honestly, you can literally go to any networking event, talk to people, get yourself out there. If you have a good idea, people will help you out. A lot of people are kind,
Yeah,
which is great to see.
and Tong, like I guess one thing I want to ask is like from your experience, right? What do you
Yeah.
think is like the hardest thing about starting a startup?
Or starting a startup. Um, I think for us, the hardest thing was to um explain the idea when we first started. I think that
Mm,
was the hardest thing because a lot of people they were still confused, like how what problem are you trying to tackle, and we weren't very we didn't put our value out there first. We
yeah.
just said what we were going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if you start off that way, then people would kind of just dismiss your idea in the
Mm-hmm.
first place.
Yeah.
And I think that was I think we struggled with that for quite some time. A lot of people they would come back to us asking, so what is it that you're trying to offer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But
And
like
just having it
in general terms, what do
in
you
general
think is
terms.
like the biggest challenge that people face in starting a startup? If you have any ideas. Like in my opinion, right?
General.
Like I
Okay.
think I think another thing that we really struggled with in our it was like finding the right team members because I know like we wanted to expand our team, but it's
Yeah.
just like so hard to like convince people that it was like a good idea and like people would be like skeptical and like some would be like yeah we can definitely have a call and things along those lines,
Yeah.
but then they didn't they didn't really want to pursue it. I think yeah like because of that I think it's really important to have a good team and like people that you can work with while like starting your startup and having like good co-founders as well as like a good support structure so that like if you're not feeling good or like you have like some doubts like other people the people around you they can help you overcome those doubts or like find the right solutions. um but it should also be that like you should like complement each other so like it's better if like the people that you're working with think differently from you if you have like very similar thought process. then like you're just going to agree with each other and like you're not really going to make a lot of progress or like find
Yeah.
anything innovative that way.
Yeah. That's a really, really good point. Um, what's another thing that's I think I think I think going back to what I said, I think just talking about value, that is, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people when they try to create a startup, right? That startup doesn't really offer value in other people's eyes, but you convince
Mm-hmm.
yourself that it offers value.
Yeah.
I think it's quite misleading. You can really trap yourself, um, and you can just like lie to yourself all the time. But then, as long as other people don't see the value in what you're trying to offer, it's not gonna go anywhere. And I think during this whole startup journey, I've been listening to other people's ideas as well, and I just think to
Mm-hmm.
myself like, so where's the value? What can like I'm not getting anything out of this. And I think a lot of people they're too interested in having a startup for the sake of having a startup rather than having a startup to solve like an issue, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, it's really important to like identify a problem and find a solution for that rather than like have a solution and then try to fit the problem with that. Um, so yeah, no, that's definitely a good point.
Yeah. Now that we're on the topic of things that startup founders kind of struggle with, um, I mean our idea is kind of put on a hold right now. Do you want to elaborate on that
Yeah, so I guess
for our
like
listeners?
what we decided to do is like because we realized that we do not have the expertise right now, the two of us, to continue with this idea. Like we still believe in this idea and we might pursue it at some other point, but we realized that like we're spending a lot of time and effort on it, whereas like other people they don't really see us as like capable, and I think partially because we also don't really see ourselves as capable because both crypto and like carbon markets they're like really complex, and even though like we both have a computer science background, um we don't really have any experience in crypto or like carbon capture and sustainability, and those since those topics are like so broad and like so complex, you can just go into like a wormhole, right? Like and keep on learning and learning and learning and still like not find what you're looking for. And we both felt like that's what was happening with us. Like we're constantly learning new things, but we couldn't figure out like how that would fit into each other.
Yeah, that's right. And going back to your issue that you mentioned as well, like if we were to have team members, who were specialists in the carbon market or in crypto, I think that will be we might still be pursuing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also, yeah, finding the right people that believe in our initiative was really hard
Mm-hmm.
for us. Um,
Yeah.
because what are the chances, right? We haven't even established ourselves yet in
Yeah.
terms of we can't, offer people a stable salary or whatever,
Yeah.
because at the time we were also still uni students.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't incentive enough for other people um to to join what we were doing. And again,
Yeah.
that brings us back to, we have to kind of be more credible in
Mm-hmm.
this whole industry, whether that is crypto or climate. And then maybe in the future we can continue what we've done. But
Yeah, and this is like another important lesson that it's like good to learn, right? That um you should be passionate about your idea, but you should also know like to stop like when like it's not worth it to pursue. Um,
Yeah.
because like if you spend a lot of time and energy and it's not going anywhere, then like it might be better to like focus on something else, try out something new, pivot and things along those lines.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's best to not be so passionate that like you just continue working on the idea, even though like the world is clearly giving you signs that like this is not working.
Yeah. I mean, it can be really blinding, right? If
Yeah.
it's your own idea and you've been working on it for like the
Yeah,
longest
it's hard.
time,
It's hard.
it really is. But
And you
it's
feel like
also
frustrated that like you're not getting anywhere. Like why
yeah.
do people not see the value in this amazing product?
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
then obviously if it's still a good idea in the future that and then you end up having the credibility in the future and it's still something you can pursue, then by all means. But
Yeah.
yeah, with us it was the case where we thought it would be the best to just put it on hold, maybe not stop completely. I'm pretty sure that if we find something interesting or find someone that's interesting who would eventually join, maybe we can revisit this idea.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I think we're both in the agreement that we should do other things first, like this podcast.
And like just like focus on getting some industry experience and getting some credibility.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to like as a university student, no one really trusts you. And like,
Mm.
yeah, it's just unless you have like really amazing like team of people or like you're super genius, which I don't think either of us are, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, it's like just gotta like pick your battles, right? Just figure out what's working, what's not working. And then this is not the end, right? But yeah, it's just time to switch gear and focus on something else for the time
Yeah,
being.
man, I just thought of the time where um we had to we had to get ourselves out there and talk to those direct air capturing companies. And I
Oh
just
God,
remember
yeah.
sending these emails to these multi-million dollar corporate firms just saying that,
Yeah.
hey, we're these two uni students working on a crypto project, would you be down
Yeah,
to
we're
help
doing a
us out and
research
stuff,
project.
doing a research project. Oh, it was really
Yeah.
tough, but yeah. But I'm honestly, I'm super happy that we both kind of pushed through, that we both kind of did stuff that we deemed were uncomfortable. um
Hmm.
like I'm pretty sure if we had didn't if we hadn't done that, we'd be in a very, very different position right now.
Yeah.
um and I mean, I'm just really, really grateful for everything that has happened. Like
Yeah, and that experience, like particularly reaching out, right? It also taught us like resilience, right? Because we got so many rejections. Like
yeah,
we sent out so many emails and like no one would even bother responding. But like
yeah,
eventually we got one person who's like the CTO of like a um really big direct air capture company. And it was like so exciting just to like chat with him and like hear his perspective. And yeah, so like definitely don't I think like being or starting your own startup definitely teaches you a lot of resilience as well. Like, like you'll face a lot of challenges, you'll face a lot of failures, but like at the end of the day, if you're doing all the right things, like eventually I think you'll get through and find what you're looking for.
yeah. I agree. I mean, yeah, if you send 100 emails or something and you get one response that's from one big company telling you, this idea is great. We'd love to chat with you about your idea. You just feel so happy.
You
All
know,
the 99 rejections, they just fly right out of the window. You don't even think about them anymore.
I think this is like very applicable to the current job market as well. Like,
It really is.
like so many people are struggling to find a job, especially because of the economy and what's going on with the interest
Yeah,
rates and everything. Um, but yeah, it's the same principle, right? Like you just keep applying. Eventually, you'll find something.
yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah,
Well, I think that should be time.
how long
It
have
was
you gone
great.
for?
Who have no idea, but I think I think this is this is like 40 minutes already or 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So that should conclude our podcast today.
Yeah.
Super
Well,
happy
yeah.
you all tuned in. Yeah, were you gonna add something?
I was just gonna say, like and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify and Instagram. And yeah, just you can find our links somewhere in our YouTube channel or like Spotify or Instagram. So yeah, like if you enjoyed it, please promote it, share with your friends. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.